Today, I'm going to review Substack. They are easy to use and reliable to send newsletters, but their business model is their Achilles heel, and they have made some controversial decisions in the way. Hi, my name is Tiago, and welcome to my YouTube channel. First, let's go for a quick summary of their history. Substack was founded in February 2017, and they already made a big impact in media landscape. They are one of the main responsibles for making newsletters cool and trendy again. Also, they offer one more option around gatekeepers. This attracted high-profile writers and journalists to go independent on Substack. Their value proposition is being the most accessible place to start a newsletter and now also a podcast. They have a simple text editor, no maintenance required, and a revenue sharing model. This means people only need to focus on writing and deciding the price for their newsletter, and anyone can start a Substack. But is Substack good or worth it? Spoiler alert, in most cases I won't recommend them. So instead I'm gonna show you what they are excellent at, but also their ugly side, and that will reveal why there are better alternatives. By the way, I'm gonna make a video about Substack alternatives soon, so stay tuned for that video. So, who is Substack best for? Substack works best for beginners on a tight budget, writers with an audience, and people who don't want to manage any technical stuff. Next, let's see the things they are good at. Starting a newsletter in Substack is super easy. You create a profile, decide the publication name, and you are set to go. It can't get much easier than this. This also means there is no maintenance required by the writer. In terms of settings, you can change the publication colors and add a custom domain, but that's optional. Substack also takes care of sending the newsletter for your subscribers, and you can enable a comment section to interact with your readers. If you already have a mailing list, you can import it. This is good for writers that already have an audience and want to start using Substack to send the newsletter. Another great thing is that you can export your mailing list, and it doesn't matter if it was built on Substack or not. This means you're not locked in, and many writers find this useful because when they leave, they can take their subscribers with them. And yes, you can keep their subscription active while you make the transition. This brings me to the things where Substack falls short at. The first one is their search engine optimization, and at the time of recording, Substack isn't good for SEO. The best piece of data to show this was written by Deborah from The Content Technologist. In her experiment, she was sending the newsletter with Substack and then reposting the content on a site running Ghost CMS. And surprisingly, or not if you compare Substack to Ghost, Ghost brought in more visitors than Substack even with fewer updates and duplicated content. The reason behind this is that Substack isn't well optimized for discovery on search engines. I like to ask, how many times did you Google something and there was a publication from Substack in the first results? For me, the answer is never that I am aware of. I never noticed a Substack publication unless I type Substack in the search query. I know I don't represent everybody, so take this with a grain of salt if you like. But if you look around, you will see almost everybody has the same opinion. Substack isn't good for SEO at the moment. This can be in part because of the lack of features. Search engines want you to disclose sponsored and affiliate links and mark them as no follow. But on Substack, all the links on your post will be do follow, and this hurts your SEO. Next is the lack of customization to meta descriptions, and you can add this to the list of missing features that I'm going to talk about later in the video. To finish the SEO section, let's talk about custom domains. Using a custom domain is better than using the subdomain they gave you for free, because all the links in the authority belongs to you. This is useful because if you leave Substack in the future, you won't start from scratch. One annoying thing is that Substack charges $50 to enable custom domains. But it's still a smart move to pay to enable this custom domain because even if they ban you, the domain is still yours. So you keep all the links in the authority. Why am I talking about bans? Because that's the next topic in this video. Substack can ban you at any time without warning. Did you know that? That's right. Every writer has to follow their content guidelines. And for the most part, their guidelines are nothing to complain about. What's there to complain about is that you're using their domain, so you're not in control. For example, they can ban people that are trying to sell something outside of Substack, even if it's something legal. Yes, you can bet they don't like to lose those juicy 10% commissions. For example, they did this to Cody Sanchez. Her publication was marked as a potential violation when she was advertising her readers to buy something outside of Substack. So, be aware of this risk and that your publication can be wiped in the blink of an eye. This is the reason I don't use Substack, and I probably never will, because I'm not willing to put effort into building a website and not having control over it. Now let's talk about how they make money. Substack takes a 10% commission from every payment on the platform, and on top of that, Stripe also takes a commission. So you'll be seeing around 87% on average of the membership you charge before taxes. It seems a fair commission, right? After all, they are taking care of the website and all the technical configuration. But let me tell you the problem of this model. If you make substantial money, you can pay someone to manage the website and take care of the technical configuration, have better SEO, and save money instead of using Substack. For example, if you make $50,000, Substack will take 5,000 of those. But if you use Ghost, you will be paying less than 1,000. And you will have money to pay someone to manage the website part-time. Plus, you'll be saving money in each of the following years by not paying 10% commission. This example is valid for WordPress, Webflow, or another platform with better features. So, paying 10% to Substack doesn't make sense when you make lots of money. Oh, and even in the case when they pay big names, there are cases where writers end up losing lots of money. For example, Matthew Iglesias said that taking an advance from Substack ended up costing him around $4,000. These massive commissions doesn't make sense for what the platform offers. And to illustrate this, publications like Every or The Browser already left Substack. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Substack Pro. Substack Pro is the program where they pay writers upfront to write on Substack for 1 year. In exchange, Substack takes an 85% commission on that year. This program makes Substack more than a publishing platform. It makes them a media company. This doesn't mean they are making decisions on what is written on the platform, but they are making decisions on what writers are paid to move into Substack. In return, they say this removes pressure for writers to generate money. This is risky for Substack, but they tend to make these deals with writers that already have a big audience or are famous. But this program brings controversy, as some writers are accused of not respecting other people's rights. In general, Substack tends to be neutral, and they are operating as a company. Their goal is to make money. But this creates a conflict of interest. In their guidelines, they say harassment isn't allowed on the platform. But what will happen if one of their big money makers is accused of this? Will they pull the plug and lose money, or turn a blind eye? This is the type of question that shows how complicated this program is and the controversies around it. Also, there are some reports that say this program offers legal support for its members. Next are the payment options. Substack only accepts payment via Stripe, and this is a limitation because of the number of countries that Stripe operates. At the time of recording, Stripe only operates on 46 countries. This means that only people living on those countries can run a paid newsletter on Substack. Next, let's talk about the lack of more features. For example, their text editor is really simple and can be used by anyone with basic knowledge. But for advanced users, there are some features missing, and this could be a limitation. Also, Substack only allows you to customize the content, so you don't have much control about the layout of the page and the newsletter. So your newsletter will look like everybody else on Substack, and this means it will be harder to build a recognizable brand because your layout options will be minimal. Further, there are no tags available. This could be used to create small content hubs around specific topics. This could help for navigation and give small SEO boosts. And finally, there are no way to customize robots TXT file. And what about discoverability of Substack newsletter? Well, it's an issue. First, they promote newsletters on their homepage that are already big. This makes sense because if the writer makes money, they also make money. So they push those who already are making money instead of promoting new writers. This means you can't expect much help from them when starting out. Also, their SEO isn't great, so that's another handicap for people to discover your newsletter. Then you can expect to use social channels and word of mouth as growth vehicles. Even though this review talked more about the negative aspects of Substack, it doesn't mean I hate them. I'm just giving my opinion and showing the risks of using them. So I cannot in good conscience tell someone Substack is good to run their newsletter and not point these things out. Don't get me wrong, Substack can be a good solution if you're starting to write online, especially if you have a tight budget. Also, suppose you don't want to have anything to do with the technical configuration of a website. You can use Substack or a better platform. It's up to a personal preference. Overall, for me to recommend Substack to everyone, they will need 3 things. Stop having the power to ban a publication, reduce commissions to 5% after a certain amount of money, and improve their SEO by a lot. If you find this video useful, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching the video until the end.